The day the aliens arrived, the people of Earth weren't sure what to expect. At first, all they saw were massive ships hovering above their cities. The ships were like nothing humans had ever seen, shiny, black, and sleek. They looked like something out of a science fiction movie. But for the aliens, Earth wasn't a mysterious place. They had studied the planet from afar for years. They knew about the humans, their history, and their technology. And from what they saw, the aliens felt sure about one thing: humanity was no threat at all. They had arrived with confidence, fully convinced that their advanced technology would easily crush any resistance the humans might put up. Their weapons were powerful, their ships indestructible, and their intelligence far beyond anything Earth could imagine. To them, Earth's military looked like a joke. In the alien command ship, the leaders gathered around a large table. They looked down at Earth, watching the humans scramble. "Look at them," one alien commander scoffed. "Their weapons are so primitive. Guns, tanks, bombs. They have no chance against us." Another alien, a scientist, agreed. "They still use ancient technology, not even close to what we have. Our energy weapons will take down their defenses in seconds." The aliens laughed, certain that this would be an easy conquest. They had been to many planets, and every time, the advanced species they encountered had easily defeated the weaker ones. The humans didn't stand a chance. The aliens didn't think twice about sending their ships down to Earth, landing them in major cities without any fear. The humans, on the other hand, were starting to panic. Governments all around the world scrambled to respond. Soldiers gathered weapons, pilots rushed to their planes, and scientists tried to figure out how to defend Earth. But nothing the humans had could match the alien firepower. On the ground, military leaders were busy planning. "They've got some kind of laser weapons," a general said. "Our tanks won't stand a chance." But while everyone was worried, there were still some humans who believed they could do something. Some soldiers, far away from the front lines, had a different idea. They knew they couldn't fight with the aliens' high-tech weapons, but they had something else: their cleverness. They had an advantage that the aliens didn't see coming: their ability to adapt, to think outside the box, to use whatever they had at their disposal. Back on the alien ships, the commanders were watching Earth's defenses fail. "This is going to be over soon," one of them said, still confident. "They're no match for us." As the first alien ship touched down in a major city, the aliens disembarked, ready to take over. But they had no idea what was coming. They thought they had seen it all before, but Earth had surprises in store that would change everything. The aliens were sure that their advanced technology would crush the humans in no time. But the humans weren't ready to give up just yet, and they had something the aliens didn't expect: the power of their own creativity. As the alien ships descended on Earth, panic spread across the world. People had never seen anything like it before. Huge black ships hovered above cities, casting shadows that seemed to swallow the streets. The aliens, with their powerful technology, landed without fear, convinced that the humans would be easy to defeat. But the people of Earth were not as helpless as the aliens thought. Across the world, military leaders scrambled to organize a response. Soldiers, pilots, and engineers worked together, trying to figure out what they could do. They knew they were up against something much stronger, but they weren't ready to give up without a fight. They had no choice but to fight back, even if they didn't have the same advanced technology as the aliens. In the United States, a general named Colonel Harris was watching the alien ships land through a telescope. He clenched his fist, knowing that this was the moment. He turned to his team. "We don't have their technology, but we have something they don't understand. We have the will to fight." Nearby, in a secret military base, scientists worked furiously to come up with a plan. "We need to use the weapons we have," one scientist said. "We can't match their energy weapons, but maybe we can create traps. Maybe we can turn the environment to our advantage." Other nations, seeing the situation was the same everywhere, agreed to work together. Soldiers from all over the world joined forces, sharing their knowledge and resources. Though their weapons seemed old compared to the aliens' lasers and advanced ships, they were determined to defend their homes. In cities, people were asked to stay inside and stay quiet, but many didn't listen. Some brave individuals took to the streets, ready to help however they could. They didn't have military training, but they had courage. They gathered whatever they could find: old guns, homemade explosives, and anything that could be used as a weapon. Meanwhile, in underground bunkers, military commanders were planning. They knew they had to act quickly before the aliens could completely take control. "We can't fight them head-on with tanks and guns, but we can fight smart," Colonel Harris said, staring at a map of the city. "We'll use guerrilla tactics. We'll move fast, attack from the shadows, and retreat before they can retaliate." Soldiers were trained to hide in buildings, in forests, and on rooftops. They used their knowledge of the land to set up ambushes, even using simple things like wires to trip up the alien soldiers. Earth's military didn't have the advantage in firepower, but they could outsmart their enemy. They knew their home better than the aliens did. As the humans prepared for the battle ahead, they didn't feel hopeless. They were angry, yes, but they were also determined. The aliens had underestimated them, and that was their mistake. The humans were ready to show the invaders that Earth was not a planet to be conquered easily. And so, with every passing hour, more and more people prepared for the fight. Earth's military wasn't the only force ready to fight. The spirit of every man, woman, and child who refused to give up was the true weapon. The aliens may have thought they had already won, but they were about to learn a hard lesson about what it meant to face humanity. The first battle between humans and aliens was a shock to everyone. It started in a small city in the middle of nowhere. The aliens had landed their ships, thinking they could take control without any trouble. They were sure their advanced weapons would make quick work of the humans, but they had no idea what they were about to face. Colonel Harris and his team were the first to strike. They had set up a plan to catch the aliens off guard. The humans knew they couldn't match the aliens' high-tech lasers and shields, but they had a different strategy. They decided to use their environment to their advantage. The aliens walked through the city, their massive footsteps shaking the ground. They were scanning the area, looking for anything that could threaten them. The humans, hiding in the shadows, waited for the right moment. The first attack came from a group of soldiers on the rooftops. They had carefully placed explosives on the corners of buildings, waiting for the aliens to get close. When the aliens were just a few meters away, the soldiers set off the charges. Huge blasts rang out, sending dust and debris flying into the air. The aliens were caught off guard. Some of the alien soldiers stumbled, trying to regroup. But before they could, the humans attacked again, this time using simple rifles and grenades. The soldiers on the ground fired from behind cover, picking off any alien soldier that came into view. The aliens tried to shoot back, but their advanced weapons were slow compared to the quick, unpredictable movements of the humans. The aliens weren't used to this kind of fight. They were trained for battles in open fields, with clear lines of sight. But the humans knew the city better than anyone. They knew where to hide and when to strike. Every time the aliens thought they had the upper hand, the humans would disappear into the shadows, only to appear somewhere else with another surprise. In the chaos, an alien commander ordered his troops to retreat to their ships. "These humans are too unpredictable," he said. "We need to regroup and plan a different approach." But the humans weren't ready to let them go so easily. As the aliens tried to pull back, a group of military trucks sped toward them. The humans had set up a trap. The trucks carried more explosives, hidden inside crates. They drove straight toward the aliens' position, drawing their fire. But the trucks suddenly swerved, and the explosives went off. The blast was enormous, knocking several alien soldiers off their feet and damaging one of the alien ships. The aliens, stunned by the attack, tried to fight back, but their confidence was beginning to slip. The humans, despite having fewer and less advanced weapons, had managed to inflict serious damage. For the first time, the aliens were not sure they would win. The battle was far from over. But this first fight has shown the aliens something important. The humans might not have the best weapons, but they had something else: cunning, surprise, and the ability to fight with everything they had. The aliens were learning that underestimating Earth's people was a big mistake. As the first fight came to a close, the humans stood tall. They had won this round, but the war was just beginning. The aliens had come to Earth with the belief that their advanced technology would easily crush the human resistance. They had lasers that could burn through metal, shields that could stop almost any attack, and ships that could hover above the ground without a sound. But after the first fight, the aliens began to realize they had made a huge mistake. The humans weren't fighting like anyone they had faced before. The humans, with their old weapons, were proving to be a bigger challenge than the aliens expected. The aliens had mocked the humans for using outdated guns, tanks, and explosives, but it was these very weapons that were starting to cause serious damage. In a remote military base, Colonel Harris stood in front of a group of soldiers. He looked at them seriously. "We don't have fancy energy weapons, but we have something better: the ability to adapt. The aliens think we're weak because of our old weapons, but they don't understand how powerful they really are." At that moment, one of the soldiers, a young man named Jack, raised his hand. "Colonel, what if we could combine our old weapons with new tactics? Maybe we can turn the advantage in our favor." The colonel nodded. "That's exactly what I've been thinking. We'll use what we have to its fullest potential." And so, the humans began to use their weapons in ways the aliens never imagined. A grenade, for example, seemed simple enough. But when placed in the right spot, it was far more destructive than the aliens had guessed. One explosion from a grenade set off a chain reaction, damaging several alien ships and knocking them out of the sky. The aliens had no shield against such an unpredictable attack. The humans also found ways to use old tanks in new ways. The tanks were slow and outdated, but when the humans used them in narrow streets, the aliens' lasers couldn't hit them. The humans drove the tanks through alleyways, hiding behind buildings and jumping out at the perfect moment. The tanks were not the powerful, high-tech machines the aliens expected, but they were still effective. Then there were the guns. The aliens thought that human firearms were weak, but they didn't count on the humans' accuracy and ability to work together. A group of soldiers would set up a sniper position, and while the aliens were distracted, they would take them out one by one. The humans had perfected this kind of warfare over hundreds of years, and it was paying off. One of the most surprising weapons was fire. The aliens had no experience fighting against something as basic as flames, but the humans knew how to use fire to their advantage. Soldiers set fire to alien ships using old-fashioned Molotov cocktails. The flames spread quickly, burning through the aliens' sensitive technology. The more the humans fought, the more they realized the true power of their old weapons. They didn't need the aliens' advanced tech to win. They just needed the courage to use what they had in the most creative ways possible. The aliens began to worry. Their own weapons, so powerful and advanced, couldn't compete with the humans' cleverness. The humans' old weapons were proving to be just as deadly as any high-tech weapon the aliens had. And for the first time, the aliens began to realize that their superiority might not be enough to win this war. The aliens had never faced a fight like this before. For the first time in their many conquests, they were starting to panic. What they thought would be an easy victory was turning into a nightmare. The humans, with their primitive weapons, were causing more damage than the aliens could handle. At first, the aliens believed they could just overwhelm the humans with their advanced technology. Their lasers, shields, and flying ships seemed unbeatable. But as the days passed, the situation on Earth grew more chaotic for the aliens. The humans weren't giving up. They were fighting back harder than ever, using their simple weapons in ways the aliens never expected. In the alien command center, the leaders were gathered around a large table, their faces tense. "This is not going according to plan," one alien commander said. We have lost several ships already, and the humans are still fighting. Their old weapons. How are they doing this? Another commander, an older alien, spoke up. I don't understand. Their guns, tanks, and grenades shouldn't be able to destroy our ships. We thought their technology was inferior. How are they using it so effectively? The aliens' fear was growing. Their advanced ships and weapons had been designed to defeat other alien species, but the humans were different. They didn't fight like the aliens expected. They didn't use high-tech gadgets or powerful energy weapons. Instead, they used what they had in the most clever ways possible. The aliens had expected the humans to surrender quickly. They believed that the humans would panic and run, leaving their cities unprotected. But instead, the humans had done the opposite. They had learned how to fight back using their environment, their creativity, and the tools they had on hand. At the front lines, the humans were pushing harder. Colonel Harris watched as his soldiers used old tanks to block alien ships and set up traps. The humans had figured out how to use the terrain to their advantage. They lured the aliens into narrow streets where their lasers couldn't reach. Then the humans would launch grenades or fire their guns from hidden positions. Each small victory was starting to add up. The aliens were losing more ships, and their soldiers were growing more nervous. They couldn't predict where the humans would strike next, and every battle left them more unsure of their chances. Back in the alien command center, one of the officers raised an alarm. There's another attack. The humans have set up explosives along our path. It's a trap. The alien leader's face darkened. We've underestimated them. We should have known better. These humans, they are stronger than we thought. As the aliens tried to regroup, they realized something terrifying. The humans were not just using their weapons. They were using their minds. The aliens' advanced technology was powerful, but it could not match the human ability to think on the fly, to adjust to any situation. The aliens had been relying on their technology, assuming it was enough. But now, it seemed like technology alone wouldn't win this war. The panic among the aliens spread. The more the humans fought, the more the aliens began to question if they could truly defeat them. The once confident invaders now realized that victory was far from certain. The war was changing. The aliens had underestimated Earth, and now they were starting to fear it. The aliens' panic was growing, but they were still determined to crush the humans. They had underestimated the Earth's people, and now they realized they were in serious trouble. The once confident invaders had become cautious, but they refused to back down. They were sure that with enough force, they could still win. But what the aliens didn't know was that the humans were getting stronger too. After days of fighting, they had learned more about the alien technology, and they were ready to strike back even harder. The aliens had made a mistake by underestimating humanity's ability to adapt and fight creatively. Colonel Harris stood in front of a large map, surrounded by his officers. We've taken out several of their ships, but we can't stop now. They're regrouping. We need to hit them harder, where it hurts. His voice was calm, but there was fire in his eyes. The humans had learned from every battle, adjusting their tactics and using their weapons in ways the aliens couldn't predict. They were more than just soldiers now. They were warriors, fighting for their homes. The plan was simple but risky. The humans would use the aliens' own weapons against them. They had managed to capture a few alien soldiers in earlier fights, and now they had learned enough to understand how the enemy's technology worked. The humans were going to sabotage the alien ships and weapons, turning their strength into their greatest weakness. In the middle of the night, a group of soldiers snuck into one of the alien bases. They carried high-tech devices, some of which they had stolen from the aliens during earlier raids. With their hearts pounding, they worked quickly, planting explosives on the aliens' weapons and disabling their ships. Outside the base, a massive explosion shook the ground. The alien soldiers inside were caught off guard. They scrambled to respond, but it was too late. The human forces, waiting for the signal, launched their own attack. Tanks rolled down the streets, firing at the weakened alien ships. Grenades exploded in the air, knocking out alien soldiers left and right. The humans were fighting harder than ever. They moved fast, hitting the aliens where it hurt and retreating before the enemy could retaliate. They didn't have the most powerful weapons, but they didn't need them. They had a fierce determination to protect their world. On the alien side, the situation was falling apart. "Our ships are being destroyed." An alien commander shouted, "We've lost our advantage. They're everywhere." In the chaos, the humans pressed forward, using their own weapons with deadly accuracy. Even simple guns were proving to be effective in the hands of well-trained soldiers. They didn't hesitate. They didn't panic. They just kept fighting, pushing the aliens back one step at a time. As the battle raged on, the aliens began to realize something terrifying. The humans weren't just fighting to survive. They were fighting to win. And with each successful strike, they were proving that their resourcefulness and courage were far more powerful than any advanced weapon the aliens had. The humans had turned the tide. The aliens had come to Earth thinking it would be an easy victory, but now they were learning the hard truth. The humans were striking back hard, and this time, they weren't going to stop until the aliens were gone for good. The battle for Earth was reaching a breaking point. The aliens had come to Earth with overwhelming confidence, expecting an easy victory. But now, after days of fierce fighting, the tide was beginning to turn. The humans, against all odds, were gaining ground. It started with a series of successful strikes. Colonel Harris and his team had managed to disable several alien ships, and in the chaos that followed, human soldiers were able to capture key alien technology. The aliens, still reeling from the unexpected attacks, found themselves unable to regain control. Their advanced weapons and ships, once thought unbeatable, were failing against the humans' relentless strategy. In a command center deep underground, the alien leaders were growing desperate. "We cannot let them take any more of our technology," one alien commander said, frustration clear in his voice. "We've underestimated them, and now they are turning our own weapons against us. We must stop this now." But no matter how many ships they sent or how many soldiers they deployed, the humans were ready. They had learned from every battle, and they had become stronger with each fight. The aliens had thought their firepower and technology would be enough to crush the humans, but they had failed to realize the power of human ingenuity. The humans were not just soldiers anymore. They were using everything they had, old weapons, new tactics, and the environment around them, to fight back. Even simple things like abandoned buildings and city streets had become traps for the aliens. The humans moved in small, fast groups, striking quickly and retreating before the aliens could respond. One by one, the alien ships fell. Explosions rang out across the city as grenades and rockets hit their targets. Tanks rolled through the streets, firing at the alien soldiers, while snipers picked off targets from rooftops. The humans had become a force the aliens could no longer ignore. Colonel Harris watched the battle unfold from a distance. His face was grim, but there was a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "We're doing it," he said to his officers. "We're turning this around. We're pushing them back." The humans had learned to fight together. Their military forces, now joined by brave civilians, worked as one. They shared information, resources, and strategies, no matter where they were. Earth's people weren't just defending their homes, they were fighting for their future. And that made all the difference. The aliens, who had once looked at Earth as an easy target, were now questioning everything. They had underestimated humanity's ability to fight back, and now they were paying the price. Every move the aliens made seemed to be met with an even stronger response from the humans. In one final push, the humans launched a full-scale assault on the aliens' command center. Tanks and soldiers advanced while air support rained down missiles on the alien ships. The aliens tried to counter, but they were outnumbered, outsmarted, and out of time. As the last alien ship was taken down, the humans realized they had done it. The tide had fully turned. They had pushed the invaders back, and for the first time in days, they could finally breathe easy. Earth had won its first major victory in the war. But Colonel Harris knew the fight was far from over. "We've made them pay," he said quietly. "But there's more to come. We need to be ready." The humans had proven their strength, but the war was still far from won. Yet, one thing was certain. The aliens now knew that Earth was not a planet to be easily conquered. The time had come for the humans to make their final stand. The war with the aliens had raged for weeks, but now, the aliens were desperate. They had lost too many ships, too many soldiers. Earth's forces, despite their fewer resources, had pushed them back, step by step. The aliens were ready for one last strike, but the humans had something even more powerful: hope. Colonel Harris stood at the front of the command center, his face tired but determined. His team had made incredible progress, but they all knew this would be the hardest fight yet. "This is it," he said to his officers. "We've pushed them back this far, but now we finish it. We fight until they leave, or they don't leave at all." The final battle was set to take place in the heart of the alien invasion fleet. Their massive flagship hovered above the Earth, and it was heavily protected by both their ships and soldiers. The humans knew that if they could destroy the flagship, the entire alien force would collapse. But that was easier said than done. The alien leader, a towering figure with a cold expression, looked down at Earth. "This will be the final time we make our presence known here," he said to his commanders. "The humans are strong, but they will be crushed. Once we destroy their forces on the ground, we will reclaim control." But he had no idea what the humans had planned. The humans had gathered everything they could for this one final push. They'd brought together tanks, soldiers, and the most powerful explosives they had. The human resistance had also learned how to fight using the alien technology they had captured, and they knew the flagship's weak points. Colonel Harris had a plan: attack from all angles, create chaos, and never give the aliens a chance to regroup. As the human forces launched their attack, explosions rocked the alien ships. Tanks rolled forward, firing at alien soldiers and ships, while planes dropped bombs from above. The aliens fired back with their lasers and energy shields, but the humans were fast and relentless. They didn't give the aliens a moment to recover. A small group of soldiers, led by Lieutenant Jack, made their way toward the alien flagship. They had one job: get inside, plant the explosives, and destroy the heart of the alien fleet. It was a dangerous mission, but they were ready. They knew that if they failed, Earth would fall. Jack's team moved quickly, taking out alien soldiers in their path. They reached the entrance to the flagship and planted explosives on its core. The countdown began. "We have 10 minutes, Jack said, looking at his team. "We need to get out now." But as they turned to leave, an alien patrol spotted them. The soldiers fought hard, pushing back the aliens and buying just enough time. When they reached the exit, they looked up at the massive spaceship above them. It was time. With seconds to spare, the team ran to safety. The flagship exploded in a brilliant burst of light, and the shockwave rattled the ground. The alien forces, without their leader and their central command, began to fall apart. Ships began to crash, and their soldiers scattered in confusion. The humans had done it. They had won. The final battle was over. Colonel Harris watched as the smoke cleared. "It's over," he said quietly. The humans had fought for their homes, for their families, and for their future. The aliens had underestimated them from the start, but now, they were forced to leave Earth. The victory wasn't just a victory of strength, it was a victory of unity, of courage, and of the human spirit. The aliens had come to conquer, but the humans had shown them the true power of fighting for what you love. The war was finally over. The aliens had been driven off Earth, their ships shattered, and their command destroyed. The humans had fought with everything they had, and now they stood victorious. But even though they had won, they knew that the world they had saved would never be the same again. Colonel Harris stood on a quiet hill, looking out over the land. The battlefields were now silent. The skies, once filled with alien ships, were clear again. It was hard to believe that just days ago, the world had been in chaos. Now, there was peace, but it was a hard-earned peace. The humans had done what seemed impossible. They had taken on a powerful alien force and defeated them. No one had expected Earth's people to fight so fiercely, but the aliens had learned the hard way. Humans were not just survivors. They were fighters, ready to protect their home at all costs. But as the humans celebrated their victory, they also knew that the real work was just beginning. The damage from the war was immense. Cities had been destroyed, families had lost loved ones, and the Earth was scared by the conflict. Rebuilding would take time, effort, and unity. But the humans had proven that, together, they could accomplish anything. In the days following the battle, people from all corners of the Earth began to come together. Governments, soldiers, and ordinary citizens worked side by side to heal the planet. They rebuilt homes, cleared away debris, and planted trees where the battle had burned the land. It was a time of recovery, but it was also a time of hope. One by one, survivors of the war began to share their stories. The young soldiers who had fought on the front lines, the families who had hidden in bunkers, the civilians who had risked everything to help. They all had stories to tell. And those stories were about more than just the war. They were about courage, sacrifice, and the strength of the human spirit. Colonel Harris had seen it all. He had led his soldiers through the toughest battles, watched friends fall, and felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. But now, as he looked out over the horizon, he felt a sense of peace. Earth had won, and it had done so because the people who lived there were more than just survivors. They were warriors, and together, they had changed the future. "We did it," Harris whispered, more to himself than anyone else. As the world began to rebuild, the humans knew that they had a new mission. They would not just rebuild their cities, they would rebuild their relationships with one another. The war had shown them that when they worked together, there was nothing they couldn't overcome. They had defeated an enemy far stronger than themselves, and in doing so, they had found their true strength. The Earth was forever changed by the alien invasion. But from the ashes of war, a new world was being born. A world where the humans knew their worth, where unity and courage were their greatest weapons. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: Earth had a new beginning. And with it, the humans had a new hope.